If you own an older home, there are a few words that probably make you instantly wince, but rewire has to be right at the top of that list. I mean, you hear it, and you instantly picture ripped up floorboards, just endless clouds of plaster dust, and honestly, incredibly vague, escalating costs that you can't control.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge source of anxiety for homeowners. But in this explainer, we're actually stripping away all of that mystery. We're diving into some completely transparent pricing data from MS Electrical Solutions, who are a highly trusted NAPIT-accredited firm covering Surrey and Sussex. We're going to break down exactly what a rewire involves and, crucially, what it actually costs in the real world. So no vague estimates today, just clear facts.
Right, so let's just address the elephant in the room straight away, because this is an industry that's notoriously guarded about pricing, right? Usually you can't get a straight answer until they literally have their boots in your hallway. What does a full house rewire actually cost? Give me the hard numbers here.
Oh, we are for sure going to give you those exact numbers today so you can actually sit down and budget accurately. But before we throw that baseline price out there, we first really need to establish if you even need a full rewire to begin with.
So, the golden baseline for any homeowner to keep in mind is the 25 to 40-year rule. Electrical systems just aren't permanent as much as we'd like them to be. The materials degrade over time, and honestly, safety standards evolve incredibly fast. Generally speaking, if your home was built before the 1970s or 80s, it is well overdue for a thorough check. Which makes total sense, especially when we look at areas like Crawley Downs, Smallfield, Reigate and Dorking. I mean, there is just a massive amount of beautiful, older housing stock out there, which makes them prime candidates for an electrical overhaul just based on their age alone.
Okay, so besides just knowing the basic age of the house, what specific warning signs should we actually be looking out for?
Well, you'll want to look for some pretty serious red flags, especially if you're in those 1950s and 60s Newtown properties around Horley and Crawley. If your fuse box still has those old-school rewirable fuses instead of the modern flick switches, that is a massive one. Also, have a look at the cables where they enter your meter. If you spot black rubber, old fabric, or lead sheathing, your wiring is literally decades out of date.
Wow. And I've also heard that old round pin sockets, or, those sockets mounted right down in the wooden skirting boards, are total giveaways.
Oh, definitely. And then there are the active warnings. Constant circuit tripping, catching a faint burning smell, or having a consumer unit that completely lacks modern RCD protection. Those are major, major warnings that it's time to take action immediately.
But see, here is exactly where my homeowner anxiety kicks in. If I call out an electrician because I spot those red flags, are they just going to take one look and tell me I need to gut the entire house just because it's the most expensive option for them?
That's a super common fear, and a totally valid one. But Mark from MS Electrical Solutions has a brilliant philosophy on this. He says he'll tell you straight whether you actually need a full rewire or just a partial one, not whichever sounds like the bigger job.
See, that kind of upfront honesty is just absolutely crucial. So you're saying it's entirely possible my whole house doesn't need to be ripped apart? Exactly. A full rewire is basically the nuclear option. You are replacing absolutely every single inch of cabling, every socket, every switch, and the consumer unit to meet the latest BS 7671 18th edition regulations. It's perfect if you're doing a full home refurbishment.
Okay, so what does a partial rewire look like then? Is that just for something like a new kitchen extension?
Spot on. A partial rewire is highly targeted. If you're modernizing a kitchen or fixing one specific faulty circuit, but the rest of the house's electrical installation is still totally sound and safe, a partial rewire is a much more practical and way more cost-effective approach. All right, so we know the warning signs and we know the difference between the types of rewires. But as a curious homeowner, I need you to give it to me straight now. No more dancing around it. What is the actual starting price for a full property overhaul? All right, here it is. Based on the transparent pricing guide from MS Electrical Solutions, a full house rewire starts at exactly £4,500.
Okay, $4,500. That is an incredibly helpful anchor price for anyone living out in Surrey and West Sussex to base their initial budget on.
It really is, isn't it? It gives you a firm baseline to work from. But as with literally any major trade work, starts from is the absolute key phrase to remember there. Right, starts from. So let's dig into that. What exactly are the variables that make that £4,500 number go up?
So there are four main factors. First is simply property size. A 5-bedroom detached house in East Grinstead is just going to require way more cabling labour than a 2-bed terrace in Salfords. Second is access to the cabling. If the electricians can easily get under your floorboards or up into the loft, the labour time just plummets.
That makes perfect sense. What about the walls themselves, though?
That's the third factor, plaster depth. If your plaster is too shallow to properly hide modern cables, they have to do much more extensive chasing, basically carving into the brickwork, and finally, occupancy. Working in a totally empty property is vastly faster and therefore cheaper than trying to navigate around your furniture and your family's daily routine.
Now, hearing all those variables, my inner skeptic is immediately thinking, okay, so that baseline price is just a bait and switch. They get in the door, and then they'll add a ton of hidden fees later.
And they might if you're using a dodgy trader, but not if you're using a professional firm. NAPIT-accredited professionals like MS Electrical Solutions operate strictly on a fixed price model, but only once they've actually seen your property in person. Whether you're in Redhill, Copthorne, or anywhere nearby, they conduct a quick, thorough site survey to assess those exact 4 variables we just talked about. Once that survey is done, the price you are quoted is the exact price you pay. No hidden costs at all, and definitely no nasty surprises halfway through the job.
Okay, that definitely brings some great peace of mind on the cost front. But what about the disruption? I mean, how long is my house realistically going to be a building site?
Well, a full rewire requires careful planning and typically takes between 5 and 10 days total. The first fix happens early on in the week. That is the messy part, where they're installing backboxes in the walls and routing all those new cables under the floors. Then the second fix happens towards the end of the timeline. That's the fun part, where they fit the shiny new sockets, the switches, and the brand new consumer unit. And by day 10, they wrap the whole thing up with rigorous testing and certification.
So for that minimum investment, what am I actually getting? Is it literally just a few new wires hidden away in the wall?
Oh, not at all. You are getting a complete system overhaul. That price includes a highly safe, modern consumer unit with proper RCD protection, plus the complete rip-out and replacement of all the old, degrading, hidden cabling. You also get brand new UK standard sockets and switches throughout the entire house, upgraded light fittings, and honestly, most importantly, the professional testing and BS 7671 certification that physically proves your home is legally safe.
Still, when you lay it all out like that, it's undeniably a big chunk of change. It's a really significant financial commitment for any family.
It is, there's no denying that. But you really have to view it as a long-term investment rather than just a sunk cost. First and foremost, you are massively reducing the risk of a devastating electrical fire. That total compliance with UK safety standards, it's just priceless for your peace of mind. Plus, modern wiring actually has the capacity to safely handle all the tech and appliances we plug in today.
And I'd imagine it really helps if you ever want to put the house on the market, right?
Massively. A recently rewired house sees a very noticeable increase in property value and buyer appeal. Not to mention, home insurers and mortgage lenders view modern electrics very favorably, which can honestly save you a lot of headaches and money down the line.
Which perfectly brings us to our final thought for this explainer. I want to leave you with a rather provocative question to think about today. If your home was built before 1980, when was the last time you actually looked inside your fuse box? Seriously, go take a look today. If you see old switches or you honestly don't know when the property was last inspected, please don't wait for a burning smell or a tripping circuit to tell you there's a problem. Reach out to a local accredited expert, like MS Electrical Solutions in the Surrey and Sussex area, and just book an EICR inspection.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, and knowing the true state of your home's electrics is the ultimate peace of mind. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and stay safe out there.